Welcome, folks. I think it's Tuesday evening. I hope you guys had a fantastic start to the week. And this is the second episode of Growth Show. The first one was a phenomenal success because 90% of the attendees stayed till the last, which shows the clarity and the quality of the content which we delivered earlier. I hope we would be delivering for this and the upcoming shows as well. Quick intro about myself. I am Praveen, co-founder of Pipe Rocket Digital. We are a B2B SaaS marketing agency. Currently, we have worked around 50 plus SaaS companies across the globe. Some of the well-known companies like Spenflow, Storyline, DevRev has been part of our ecosystem. And we provide services like paid media, SEO, content, marketing operation. So if you have any questions or any requirement, feel free to reach me out in via LinkedIn, or you can also drop in our website as well. So coming to our session. So with AI into the picture, I think there is a disruption happening in our industry. And people are actually craving for real connection and authenticity. When considering real connection and authenticity, there is no better channel like events, where you can definitely create real-time talks and understand what's the nuances involved over here. When thinking about events, you can't avoid this name, like Nivas into the picture, because he's been doing this for years for companies like Freshworks, Penflow. He has done that. He knows what worked and what doesn't. The reason why I'm saying this confidently was I attended his Axel event where he gave a seminar about how we cracked the Spenflow growth in via events. The way he delivered, the way he touched on the nuances was completely a learning experience for me. I thought that this needs to be distributed for all the audience, and we can definitely have more chat about that. And I'm really super excited about this session and happy to have you on board, Nivas. With that intro, I would like to shoot the first question. Is event for everyone? Who should consider event as a channel?
Yeah. Hey, by the way, thank you so much for having me. I've known Pipe Rocket for a while now, and we've been working with them. So happy to be doing this. Deepan's a good friend as well from SaaS Lab. So glad to know. I hopefully keep the expectations up for this session. I think this is a question that keeps coming up to me, right? Like, hey, how can I also do events, right? Sometimes events is seen as a very flashy, very fancy thing, right? Like they mostly see us either on flights or at like very fancy restaurants in the US, or probably posting photos of like different things. And it all looks very glamorous on LinkedIn, right? But I think the biggest challenge is it's a very non-scalable channel, first of all, right? You cannot, like, for example, publishing 100 pages to 1,000 pages can be scaled, but probably doing one event and 10 events is very, very different ballgame. I agree with what you said about the experience, wanting that in-person live connections, right? So a lot of folks have actually reached out to me asking this question, saying, hey, how can I do it? So one of the first 2 to 3 questions, right, like that you should just ask yourself. One, how much is your average contract value, right? If it is, so earlier at Freshworks, right? Freshworks never did too many of the dinner events that we're talking about. They mostly went to large conferences or summits or expos, exhibited, right? That made sense because they wanted to spread the brand awareness, right? Like they wanted to show that, hey, you know what, Freshworks is a big player. But the approach that Spenflow has is very, very different, right? Because for us, the deal size it's a quality over quantity game, right? For us, deal size is not anywhere, are north of 50 grand, right? 50K US dollars. So I will recommend, if your ACV is greater than $25,000, then think of considering events. If it's anything lesser than that, I used to initially say it was 15K, but because now I've kind of increased it. The reason being, almost everyone's doing events today, right? It's also become like, oh, okay, you know what? AI is going to take off search. AI is going to take away Google ads. So what's the other channel? Events, right? Like almost every brand or vendor or like software product is actually doing events. So that becomes a little tricky. So that's the first thing, right? Like you have to know what is your ACV. Second, right? Are you selling to just one persona or multiple persona? I'll give you an example, right? Like SpendFlow sells to finance people, right?
Okay.
If something like a ClickUp, right? Who does ClickUp sell to? It can sell to project managers, it can sell to product managers, it can sell to finance, it can sell to IT. There are different personas, right? Like within, then what happens is when you bring everyone in the same room, the quality of the conversations drops, right? Like if I tell Praveen, you can never say, even in marketers, if I tell Praveen, there are 11 performance marketers meeting, you'll get a lot more excited rather than saying, hey, there are 11 marketers meeting, right? That generally dilutes your brand perspective. The third why or what you should really consider is you have to run a tight ship, especially if you're selling from India to the US, right? Like travel and all is going to be very, very expensive. If your sales, either if they're present in the US or in India, and if they want to only stay in a particular type of hotel, or if they want to only fly very expensive flights, or they're not, or also in the early days, they should be willing to share accommodation. Like a lot of the first three, even now, right? Like most of the times, we've mostly shared a room together, right? Like in SF or New York, the rooms are very, very expensive. So the sales or any leader, right, like should be willing to accept that, hey, you know what, especially for a startup, if you're a corporate or maybe like a Series C, Series D, very well-funded company, maybe the rules of the game will change. But for stage companies, if you really want it to work, the culture should flow throughout, right? Like it cannot just be the marketing team and the founder saying, "Oh no, we'll have to run a tight ship." It has to be to the salespeople. Something that I really love about my sales leader, right? Like he's an American, and him and I, we know for a fact that rooms in New York are expensive. Like we've stayed in really, I want to use the word shitty hotels, right? Like in different parts, and we've been very comfortable saying, okay, you know what, this is what we have to live with, right? Like as long as the two separate beds, we're like, yeah, okay, you know what. Anyways, we don't spend so much time over there, and we've had some of our best days, like from a traveling and like that, those early grit days, right? That actually works pretty well. And just the final fourth part, you need to have a good sales process, right? You cannot be like, oh, we had great food, we had great conversations. You don't necessarily follow up in the right way. Then it's going to drop, right? Like it's going to consider it as a brand program, and you're not going to be able to say ROI. It's going to fall flat. So these are questions you should answer before you even consider events as a channel for your company/product.
Interesting. And talking about the sales process, right? Because that's the place where handoffs happen. Because you would put together a lot of efforts, you would have designated particular spends, time, effort over there. So how would the handoff happen? What are the usual metrics you guys would have a conversation within the sales team?
Yeah, I think it's still very much broken across a lot of companies, right? Like including SpendFlow. I want to say, oh, we run a perfect engine, right? Like I've spoken to someone, almost 100 million ARR company who's very excelled at events. They have a very heavy event motion. And I had this like a lot of leads were dropping, and I went and spoke to him, and he was like, yeah, dude, they're hard, right? So I think that's also what makes it more challenging. At least these are the ideal best practices that you should definitely follow, right? If like assuming you've done a dinner, right? You need to segregate the leads as hot, warm, and cold, right? Hot is when they've expressed interest explicitly, right? Warm is when they either showed up and probably you had a great conversation, but you necessarily did not have a product related or a need related conversation. Cold is anyone who where you probably did not speak to them or they did not attend, right? But the ability to convert out of cold is, you can, even the non-attendees, we've gone ahead and converted some of them to become this thing, right? Like we'll be like, hey, we really were hoping to meet you at the event. We couldn't. I'd love to show you what we've built and get some feedback. Would you be open to it, right? Or probably we've worked with, we'll bring in some referenceability, right? Like saying, hey, we work with these guys and a lot of them said we should definitely work with you. Would love to hit you up, right? I think those sort of things work very well. we've made a shit ton of mistakes, right? Like, sorry, I'm using the S word twice. Yeah, because what we've done is, my best practice is today, even while coming back from the dinner, your leaders need to take notes on their phone, right? Like saying, okay, this person mentioned this as their challenge, right? And because the moment you sleep through, because most of the times if it's a dinner event, next day when you wake up, you're going to remember only half the things, right?
Yeah.
So it's important for you to take notes quicker. I think today there are two tools that I haven't really explored, but there's a tool called Granola, which is like an app on your iPhone. I'm hoping it's also on Android. It records conversations. So maybe at an event, if I would try doing it with permission, saying, hey, we're going to record this entire conversation. Are you folks open with it, right? If they allow, then great. It is an AI note taker. It's going to consolidate and send it to you. If they're open to, then great. The second is there are devices called Limitless, as well as I think the other one is called Aura or something like that. It's available in the Amazon.com website. $100.
Sorry to interrupt. How many people allowed those? Like,
no, we've not tried it, but I've noticed an attendee of our event bringing it. So it's actually a very cool thing if you think of it. It's a pendant, right? That she was just wearing. And we didn't even realize it was a device. So she was just recording our entire, not the video, but it was more of an audio AI note taker, right? She was just recording, and I was just feeling bad, saying, shucks, I should have turned on Granola. And I was just speaking to her at the end, and she was like, hey, by the way, I have it all taken over here. I'm like, what is that? And then that's when she told me it's a pendant. Be mindful of, like, it's like as usual as a recorder, right? Like a lot of the communities in the US will actually be politely say, hey, we're going to place a recorder here. It is all for internal purposes. We're not going to publish anything. If you're going to publish like any learnings or probably put together a report or something, we are going to take permission. And they're fine with it because they know that they're at your event. As long as you're not recording them on a video or things like that, it should be fine. Audio is still pretty much, it's okay.
Yeah, that's interesting takeaway. And I could see you guys doing sponsored events and the own events as well. Which one do you guys prefer after all these time, and why is it that so?
Yeah, something that we've realized is it's the very large events, right? Like where you're able to get you're not necessarily able to find the senior decision makers coming to those conferences or expos, right? Something that we've observed, because those are very serious in their work, and they do not want to throw away 3 days of their time unless and until they have an agenda over there, right? Like if it's a NetSuite conference or so. We've generally, and also one more thing that you have to be mindful about is the sponsorship for that is just phenomenally higher, right? Like some $75,000, $80,000, $100,000. Especially in the finance sector, it's very, very expensive. That's like literally throwing away like a lot of our budgets into one particular event. So we from a cost effectiveness standpoint, we'd prefer the dinners. We've actually done pickleball games. We've done hosting people at a baseball match. We've done.
Did you convince like your CEOs on?
No. I think my CEO and CRO are pretty open to some of these things, right? Like, I mean, it's not much convincing. We're like, hey, you know what? It's going to cost lesser. I think that's definitely a way to pitch it, because honestly, a pickleball court is like what, $60, $50 in the US. In India, it's going to be like 500 rupees. So we've never done anything in India, but in the US, and we do provide refreshments as well. We were just thinking, hey, what else will bring them out, right? Because there was a joke, right? Where in New York, in a city like New York or SF, if you go to the Luma like app, you'll see almost 60 to 70 events happening in a month, right? Which means you're going to fight amongst those 69. And for these decision makers, there are probably a lot more happening, right? So, and also a lot of them have become very health conscious, fitness oriented, and all those things. They don't want to necessarily come and eat so much or drink, right? So that's when we were like, okay, why don't we allow people to bring their families to watch baseball games? Why don't, again, all of this works if your the ACV makes sense. If your average contract value doesn't make sense, don't do any of these things, right? And we've done a pickleball. The pickleball game was the lowest ever from a cost standpoint, but it actually turned out to be a pretty decent ratio of turnout for us.
Interesting.
But I think from an effort standpoint, it's easier to do sponsored events because just driving registrations is always a very difficult thing in the US.
But
you don't have a brand.
Yeah, one clear takeaway is like if you want to go after the CXOs, and most of them, you need to have like very close door and very personalized kind
Correct.
of event.
Correct.
I think that's seriously a good takeaway for us. One important thing is how do you manage the budget of the events, and what are the key parameters to consider while taking budget into consideration from pre-production and post the event as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of the US restaurants which will, I'm going to just talk from a US standpoint because that's what I've done for a long period of time. But this also applies for a lot of the other regions as well, right? Like not just US. Will they'll ask you questions like, hey, how many people are you expecting? And then they'll ask for a minimum commit, right? Like it could be $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, whatever your budget is. You generally put that in, and you will also need to arrive at a per person cost, right? Like say it could be $200 per person, $150. You also need to factor in a decent amount of 20% of alcohol, 25% of alcohol consumption, right? So assuming it's $250 per person, we'd be like, okay, we're going to anticipate about 10 people, but if we're able to bring more, it's always good for us, right? Because it's still at $250 per person, and you can. Okay, you cannot necessarily treat it like a Google Ads lead or an organic lead, right? These are people who you're going to have your leadership or you are going to have access to for about 2.5 hours, right? You have to pay that price for it. And they are more warmer in comparison to like even a Google Ads lead or an inbound organic search lead. You can also maximize is by inviting them for webinars, inviting them for podcasts, inviting them for other engagements. They are really open to. They also feel a little more gratitude towards you because, and also make it about the community, right? We generally say it's a finance dinner, it's a CFO dinner. We don't talk about it's a spend flow dinner, right? We don't position it that way. We position it towards that. I think you have to obviously include a lot of travel. We have this part of the math in the back of our head right now because we've done it for 2.5, 3 years per day. How much is it for hotels? How much is it for per diem? How much is it for Uber? A lot of variable costs here and there. And we generally be like, okay. But what we also try doing is, especially if you're flying people from India, we combine 3 to 4 events together. Assuming you're going for a conference already, we'll be like, okay, can we plan another dinner? Can we plan another dinner in another city, right? So we kind of try packing it around. We call it an event sprint, right? Like we'll be like 8, 10 days, 3, 4 events.
So that the budget is optimized.
Of course, yeah. Otherwise, you're gonna. I don't know if the CFO will allow for this. Yeah.
True. I think that's pretty interesting because all the cases, right? And I also received a lot of questions from the registration as well. They are keenly considered enough in like what's the ROI as a metric would be for an event. But before going into ROI, right? Like is event a branding or a pipeline generation activity? What's your take on that?
I think it is both. But for us, we've treated it as a pipeline activity. Early stage, you cannot.
Please don't tell that it's full of pipeline.
Please don't.
No, it's full. If it's like full of pipeline, I think
it is not full of pipeline. It is not full of pipeline. It is the reason being. I think it also helps in like for example, if I attend a dinner hosted by a particular entity, right? I will definitely remember them, right? So you are automatically entering into their consideration set, right? Like for example, this is a reference that I've heard a lot. If you want to buy if you want to buy a phone or a TV today, what are the top 3 brands that will come to your mind, right? Take a
Samsung, Sony,
LG, Samsung. So similarly on a B2B side, right? You cannot necessarily place TV ads. You're not going to be able to place billboard ads. Not everyone's going to be able to do it. But then think of it this way. You are able to reach out to a lot of people, though a lot of them are not able to make it. They're going to remember, SpendFlow does these really nice dinners, right? Like, or probably hosts these experiences, right? And when they want to make that decision, they're going to consider saying, oh yeah, Makes sense. Let me speak to those folks just to see what it is, and that's what you need for a lot of times, right? Like that's what actually pushes you towards your Google ads as well, or your organic search.
True.
It all intertwines. We've considered it as a pure pipeline channel. We do have influenced pipeline as well from it, but I mean, we are not a large company to just say, oh, we'll spend like a $500,000 or $1 million and say, okay, we'll fly a balloon like Freshworks did. Right? Like for Freshworks, it makes a lot of sense because they wanted to position against Salesforce, but for us, we're very nimble, ran a pretty tight ship from an event standpoint. Yeah.
Fair point. I think early stage, or if you are making somewhat like 5-10 million in revenue, you definitely need to have a pipeline as a backup strategy for any activity which you are doing, or else definitely everything would be questionable. I think that's a very fair point. One thing is,
I think I just want to add over there, right? Like we kind of events as three-pronged approach. One is to generate new pipeline. Two is to accelerate pipeline. Three is to provide upsell/cross-sell opportunities.
Interesting.
If you're able to invite customers, customers come and speak on your behalf. If there are existing pipeline, you invite them. Your AE gets a chance to. The customer will not come on a 1-hour call, but they'll come for that dinner, right? So you need to kind of see how you can max out what you've already put together, right? Like marketing is enabling all the other channels, right? Like I mean, pipeline acceleration, customer success, everything, and you make the most out of it.
Yeah. Which one is highly preferable in the three segments? Like you told acceleration and you told pipeline, direct pipeline, and
we use it as new pipeline. I mean, at least we're small, so I mean, we'd love to just treat it as customer event, and we would love to just treat it as pipeline acceleration. But cities, right? We might not have so many customers, or we might not have so many pipeline opportunities. So those cities we will consider it like in like say cities like SF, New York, and LA. We'll have a fair share, like 40% of new, 30 or 20% of customers, as well as pipeline acceleration. But like a lot of the new cities like Austin, Denver, Seattle, all those are mostly for new pipeline generation.
Yeah. That's interesting for sure. What's the common mistakes you were able to see in companies making when treating events as a channel?
I think two parts. One, it takes time, right? They got to give it just like any channel, right? Like SEO or be it performance. The worry is, look, for us, we made like a lot of mistakes before we arrived at what we are. It took us 3-4 months, a minimum, right? And that too, because of the experience that I possessed at Freshworks and my leadership, my co-founders also knew what events meant, and they were willing to back you on it, right? If you're a marketing leader or if you're a founder listening to this, have conviction, and it takes time. Be a little more patient, because you don't want to also follow up too hard where you have a very bad experience with the prospect, right? Like where they feel like, oh my God, I shouldn't have shown up for that event, is what they should not feel, right? I think the second mistake is just dropping the ball once the event is over, right? And not necessarily following up at all. That is also wrong. The third is this comes with experience, but you need to know what the ratios are, right? Like how many people, if they register, how many people are going to show up, and how do you appear like a bigger brand, right? Like that's the most critical part about events, right? You cannot, you can pick a not so expensive restaurant, but you have to look premium, right? And you have to feel premium, and you need to think of their user experience. It could be things like, hey, where will they park? Right? That's a big problem in the US, right? And if they come, and we've made mistakes around all of these things, right? Like there've been attendees who've struggled to find parking for like 11 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then we're like, oh man, like, I mean, that's precious time of theirs and ours being wasted, right? So think of we care about user experience so much on the website or on the product, right? And is this where if they step in to the restaurant, how are they going to be, what do they have to ask for, right? Like, what are they going to walk back with? What you just ask this question saying, okay, what will they call this event? Will they call it, hey, you know what, SpendFlow hosted a prospect dinner? No. Or spend a lot of folks, right? Like what we've done is we've kept it more around finance leaders and very less about us. I'm not trying to brag over here, folks, but I think they've finished the dinner and they'll be like, dude, this felt like therapy where I just got to open up to my peers. No one was judging me. And also this, right? Like, I mean, I'm not a finance leader and I never understood finance for a very long period. And sometimes as marketers, it's also very risky, right? Like especially things like say cybersecurity or some of those very core sectors, right? Like, and when you don't understand jack shit, how do you even like hold on? I used to try faking it the first 2-3 times. After that, I was like, folks, I'm very new to this. I'm the opposite. I'm on the marketing. Most of you guys might hate me, right? Like because CFOs and CMOs never get along, but I'm going to be the moderator for this, right? Like I'm going to just facilitate conversations, not necessarily try adding value or things like that, right? So that generally just bringing out that originality, saying, hey, you know what? I'm not the expert, right? But I'm a good listener. I will ensure that I'm able to convey and probably facilitate the conversations. I think that's pretty critical. So just playing your part as a host is very important.
That's great way to put. Folks, I know Nivas for quite some time, and one thing I liked about him is the most is he's being utmost transparency with us. Like he'll tell what he knows, it's his forte, and he'll be open enough to understand what we also know as well, because we are currently engaging with him as well. So that's when we have qualitative discussion, and it would be easy for us to share notes. I think that is pretty evident of what Nivas has actually been doing for events as well. So with that note, I think I have few questions from audience side as well, Nivas. One thing is, I think you touched base here and there, but I wanted to reiterate so that it's been addressed. And it's an interesting question as well. How to crack the US GTM for events? Because being an Indian founders or Indian CMOs, their first primary thing, especially in SaaS, is to go crack the US market, right? I think that's their ideal goal would be there when they are starting like 1 million or 3 million right now. So what would you recommend to them? And how do you have any hacks or tricks that can be?
Yeah. I think this is what every Indian company will go through. It's a phase, right? Where you are asked to focus on the US market, and probably you are only starting off with that. There is a decent amount of the Indian diaspora in the US, right? Probably those are your first entry points because they're going to see an invite from an Indian, as much as at the risk of being sounding racist, like it's going to be a brown face, right? So if we're going to reach out, we'll have to. But I think the fundamental thing that you need to be asking is, hey, how do we make it about them, right? While hosting a dinner or an event, right? So also do a little bit of ground research. Go to maybe assuming you're in the say cybersecurity space, right? What are the top cybersecurity conferences that are happening, right? Probably pick 3 or 4 of them. Don't go sponsor. Figure out a way to go attend as a founder, right? Like saying, hey, you know what, I'm trying to enter into this space. A lot of the times you can also reach out to the organizer of the conference, right? Like if it's not like an AWS, but a smaller 300, 400 people conference. Most of the times the organizers will appreciate founders because they are future prospects for them, right? What you should do is, hey, you know what, I'm very, very early. I do not have the budget to go and sponsor your event, but I would love to come and attend, right? I'm happy to volunteer. Or if you want me to pay and attend, I'm happy to do that, right? First speak to like 10, 15 people over there at the conference saying, hey, if you're considering events as a channel, right? So, and also the other thing around conferences is there are going to be a lot of side events, right? See if you can if you have the budgets, go and figure out how to co-partner with them. Or just see if you can get a pass, right? Like, if you can register and again, check who's promoting the event. Reach out to them saying, hey, by the way, I'm a founder and I'd love to attend. And I'll ensure at the event, I'm going to promote your dinner. I'm just going to very subtly bring it up. See how you can add value to them, right? Earlier, they're just going to be like, hey, why am I going to allow another person to come and sell? But then if you tell them saying, hey, I will be able to try driving 4 more people. And if 4 people register using my Luma referral link, then you allow me, right? So we have to play that jugaad card, right? Like you cannot anticipate everyone to come and invite you. So navigate, and if you have like if you belong to a particular school alumni, right? Like I mean, alum is a great way to say, hey, can you? I mean, and we've a lot of the times we've gone ahead and crashed at our like my previous Freshworks colleagues who live in the US, right? Very shamelessly, and we'll buy like aloo bhujia packets for them because that's the only thing that they might not get over there. So you have to be shameless, but start early, make those relationships, right? Engage with the conference organizers, engage with individuals. Who are the speakers? Who are the presenters? Who are the sponsors? Ask sponsors, what do they feel about this conference? Are they planning to come back next year? How many years have they been sponsoring? Right? Like these are all ways for you to make the max out of it. Generally, if you wake up at like 7 in the morning at an event, you're gonna go to bed only at 11:30, right? Try to hang around as much as you can. Ask the right questions. It can be very taxing, especially from a jet lag standpoint, but you have to do this as an early conversation.
Interesting. And I think
I see a lot of questions.
Yeah, a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Pick the best ones. So please talk about the problems you faced in your sales process post the event and how did you solve them?
Getting leaders to follow up is very hard. One, because they have other priorities. Second, sometimes context gets missed, where during the conversation they would have actually mentioned, oh, we use this particular competitor, or we particularly need this integration to be in place. That information doesn't generally get carried forward. We still drop the ball. Like sometimes we'd be like, okay, let's follow up in a week. Sometimes that person might have, the SDR or the BDR might have fallen sick. I might have not given the right context. A lot of things, just like the usual process, right? And also, what type of conversation did you necessarily have at the dinner, right? Like if it was very generic, and if you didn't necessarily look, don't use the dinner as a pitch platform. Use this as a discovery call, right?
Nice.
Like ask relevant questions, right? Like saying, hey, Praveen, which company are you with? Oh, okay. Do you guys, what ERP are you guys on, right? If I ask you what CRM do you guys use, you're not going to be like, oh, he's trying to do a discovery.
Yeah.
But then you also be like, how much is your spend? Then you will be like, oh man, this guy is asking me a discovery question. You have to navigate. Then you should be like, oh, are you guys remote? Are you guys working from home? Are you guys in person? How long does it take for the traffic? Where are you located, right? I mean, is it all the US or this thing? So you need to know. I mean, again, this comes with experience where you'll make very fundamental mistakes the first time. But also think of it like this, right? Like it's like a cold call. Only one person will remember, like you and the person who picked up the call. Even if the person yelled at you really, really badly, it's only you and the other person. Just shrug it off and go to the next event or next conversation, right? Like sometimes I made like very fundamental mistakes at some of these events, but yeah, life moves on.
Great. And next one is when you mention accelerating the pipe, inviting customers to speak or dinners, who owns this? The marketing team or the sales?
We'd love for sales to own it. We've tried, but because they also have, look, it's also this, right? Like they have priorities. Everyone has their own set of priorities, KPIs and OKRs. Our priority is to fill up the room, right? So we generally will coordinate saying, hey, is it okay if we reach out, or do you want to reach out, right? If are being a blocker as well as not reaching out, then it's a red flag. Right? But if they, like, for example, my sales guy is very clear, saying, hey, these are folks, don't touch because we are in deep conversations. I don't think the event is necessarily going to help. All the others, they're slightly non-responsive. Go ahead and do whatever you want, right? If that just set that expectation, right? Like, I mean, we doing it, they're doing it. I don't really bother. We expect them to, if they have. The thing is, if they over this thing, oh yeah, like especially customer success, right? If they tell you things like, oh, I have very good relationship, then we'd be like, okay, it's your responsibility to bring them. Don't expect us to follow up, right? So, but if the other way around, where they say that, and then they're like, no, I'm awaiting a response. Then you've not built a good enough relationship over there, right? So that's how we approach it. Look, if you are worried about the channel's efficiency, go to, I mean, don't be like, oh, whose responsibility? Don't get into those.
Nice one. Finding the co-partners for events is another headache. Synergies need to meet. Where to start?
Yeah, I think great question. I think three things that you need to look at. You match on ACV, right? If they sell a small product and you sell a big product, or if they sell an enterprise product and you sell a small product, it's not going to match. They want a different type of experience. You want a different type of experience and the type of audience. One. Second, do they care about the same type of experience that the end user wants, right? Some people will be like, no, I want to sell. Some people will be like, I want to present. I'm like, hey, look, they've had a very long day. Do you really want to present stats? You want to present reports? No. Let's have a more chill conversation. Third, I think persona matching is very important. If they care about, like, for example, if you are targeting performance marketers, they're also targeting performance marketers, then great. But if that's not aligned, ICP alignment, ACV alignment, as well as experience alignment, I think these are the three things that you need for finding a partner. Being an Indian company, it's extremely hard to find a US partner. What you offer to them is, if you have proof where you've done it in the past, great, go ahead and show them the photos. If you're doing it for the first time, take all the heavy lifting on your side, right? Just be like, hey, look, just ensure they pay, right? That's the one thing that we've made sure, because if they don't pay, they're not going to become serious, right? So don't go to the biggest of the, like, for example, don't go to the Salesforce. Salesforce will take forever, right? But look at who's the 7th CRM or the 8th CRM. And those are definitely looking for opportunities, and be like, hey, we have we're expecting 12 people. We're looking at a $1,700 cost or a $2,500 cost. Split both ways, it's going to be $1,250. We are happy. Like, we have a team out of India. We can take care of the Luma landing page. We can take care of the emails. We can take care of all the logistics with the hotel. Would you like to just partner where you're able to just push it to your audience and split the costs? That is where you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting and they're getting convinced. So if you're able to do that, then you have higher chances. So this is what we've honestly worked, because earlier, now we get a lot of inbound, we reject. Right? We're like, I think we've gone up in that game where we know what we're capable of. We're very selective about our partners today.
Wow, I think that's spot on, because this is actually enlightening to me, because three things. One is ACV, and another one is the audience and the experience. I think these three things are very vital. That's spot on part. And another one is, how do you get enterprise CXO to attend the closed door event?
Yeah, it is hard. Like, I mean, you need to think of what will excite them, right? It is probably not. Look, okay, I'm going to give you a reference of say a Mumbai or a Delhi or a Chennai, right? Just for your reference. If I were to tell you, hey, we're going to host a dinner at a very nice pizza chain, right? Will they come? Maybe, may not be. But if you tell them, I'm going to host it at, like, this is a Chennai reference, by the way, at the ITC, there's a place called Avartana, right? You're not going to get seating very easily, right? It's an experience by itself, but it's going to cost you a lot, right? If you're going after enterprise CXOs, it is going to cost you, right? But even if you're able to bring in 5 people, or maybe an Indian accent equivalent, right? Like, Indian accent is a very popular restaurant, like a very 5-7 course meal, very this thing. But also it puts them in the spot for 2.5 hours. They can't be like, I'll have something and leave, right? Because it's a course meal. They want to experience it, right? Like, they don't get it. So what is it that will excite them? Is it a match, like a Super Bowl match tickets, right? Is it a thing? And then you start reaching out in such a way that it feels like a community thing, right? Where, hey, we are hosting, go as niche as you can, right? Like, don't be like, we are hosting 5 to 8 cybersecurity leaders in who are pre-IPO, right? Like, go as niche. Then they'll be like, oh man, this feels very relevant for the audience that I want to be. And as long as it's not a competing angle, like, for example, if you put 8, say, fintech marketers in the room, I'll be like, oh, it's a risk for me, right? But a lot of the other professions might not necessarily bother. So you need to look at what is a competing angle, what is a not competing angle, and what is in it for them. And also, as soon as you get one or two very good names, through like for example, we had the CFO of ClickUp register for one of our events.
Okay.
In all our email communications that kept going out, right? Saying we have the CFO of ClickUp, we have the head of finance at Airtable, we have the head of finance at Notion. Like these are household brands, right? Like you have to leverage them. And be like, you can also you can do it without naming people also. You can be like, hey, we have $3 billion company CXOs joining us for our dinner. Would you like to come on board, right? And once you say yes, I'm willing to reveal them, you take the call whether you want to join in or not, but at least get the response, right? That's very critical because LinkedIn will consider getting a response as a higher number. Yeah.
Interesting point. So I think I'll wind up with the last one, Nivas. So I kept it for the last because everyone asks for the success metric. Like, so what's the top 3 factor that makes an event successful?
I think I spoke about this earlier, right? Like because earlier I also see a very interesting question which is kind of aligned to this. Should event have a separate pipeline goal or is it combined or integrated effort? Most of these will be in warm. We may need other teams' help to move down the funnel. Absolutely, you are going to need other people's thing, but it is good to have 2 to 3 different types of look. If you're able to do direct pipeline, nothing like it, right? Try to track that. Try to track influenced pipeline, right? Probably if they were a lead that was generated by another channel, you were able to make them move towards pipeline, then you're an influence pipeline. Pipeline acceleration as well as customer upsell, retention, cross-sell, all of those things, right? Like there are multiple metrics in which we will start looking at them. But don't get over-optimized about these things when you're especially starting off, right? Look at each of them, like if you have 8 people, tag them, right? Okay, this was a customer. Okay, great. At probably when the renewal comes up, are they renewing with us? That's a great way for us to know, okay, if they come to an event, they are renewing, right? They could also renew. It's not necessarily a causation. It could just be a correlation, right? So you have to be a little mindful and anticipate that, okay, you know what, events is helping. It's like brand, right? Like, I mean, just because you're placing a TV ad, it doesn't mean that everyone's just going to buy. It's just a brand recall. There is a lot of brand affinity towards it. Post which we've seen conversations becoming, and also you can ask the questions around, hey, where have you heard about us? Why? I mean, have you heard about us before or things like that? That generally helps to kind of bring in the right results for you. Yeah, I think Rohan has a question. I'm just going to quickly take because I just want to be helpful for the others. Rohan has a question. Can you share the names of the devices or apps? It's called Granola, Rohan, where you can actually record it on your app, on your phone itself. The device is actually just search for, one second, let me just see if I have it on my cart. I have it on my Amazon.com cart. It's called Plaud, Plaud. You can search for it. I don't know whether it's available in India, but I'm pretty sure it works globally. So you can get it from the US if anyone you know is coming. And yeah, Plot.ai. It's available on Amazon.com as well. So yeah. If it's the first event and low awareness, would inviting a right nano influence? Oh yes, great question. I think it makes a lot of sense as long as if they're not able to, so 2 things, right? Like one, if they're charging, and if you're able to afford, go ahead, right? If not, there should be someone or the other who's trying to build their network, right? Like try to see, and they don't necessarily have the budget to host it, right? So see if you can say, hey, you know what, do you want to host it? And we'll just say powered by whatever brand, and do you want to make this an event of yours? They might be the driving factor. So absolutely great question. Whoever, I'm wondering why questions are anonymous. I mean, these are great questions. I think they can actually be. Limitless is also a fantastic this thing, Smita. Thank you. Have you actually tracked ROI directly or indirectly from event leads, and what specific metrics do you look at across the funnel from registration, engagement, and lead scoring? I think all of these make sense, especially because Like, I mean, we look at how many registrations do we have, how many of them are ICPs. Sometimes you do have one or two non-ICPs also register. We generally sometimes allow them if they're a very respected, especially if they're even working with a competitor or so. Registration, we look at how many people attended, like the hot attended versus non-attended. Did everyone stay all the way to the end? And all the way to conversions. We track pipeline very closely from some of these events. Yeah, it is not easy, Altamash. Um, it is hard, but yeah, it's very manual. It's very broken. I think my RevOps person hates us for the events channel because it's very difficult to track it, because a lot of the times we live on spreadsheets because it's coming from different sources. Different the conferences organizers especially give you like CSV uploads, so it's a pain. Yeah, but I mean, I just want to finish with one note, right? I think this is something that Hiten Shah had put out long back, and this keeps some of the most successful channels in marketing are going to be the least scalable, right? Because those are areas where no one else wants to touch, right? So if it's very easily scalable, then it can easily become inefficient. If it is not easy to scale, I think it's going to stay relevant for a longer period. I think events has been, and I'm hoping events will be a very relevant channel for a longer period.
100%. I could see one question, one comment that they have told you to start a course on events.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you can definitely consider that, because I could definitely see an immense thought going through, and the execution was actually happened. And
I think we've had our fair share of iterations as well, and yeah, I mean, from stack to everything, right? Like, I mean, it's gone through a lot of process.
yeah, I think the way you answered everything tells us that how depth it went, and because you have faced a lot of challenges and you have done a lot of mistakes, and right now the place you are right now, it's very evident, we can feel that. And I think all the folks who are there in this session would definitely have that learning experience till now, and they might have started thinking about events as a channel. And one key takeaway is the ACV part, which you have been stressing from the first of the session. So whenever there is a high ACV, it's better that we can consider event. If it's like SMB or targeting, I think we shouldn't be going after events as a channel at this point of time. And with that, yes, we are at PipeRocket as well. We are thinking event as a channel. But before going that, all these lessons, all these learnings which you had, I think that would definitely help us to shape things up better. So thank you so much, Nivas. I think it's indeed a great learning session for us, and we would definitely address all the questions separately. Maybe you can answer some of them, and we can definitely have separate LinkedIn post on that as well.
Absolutely. Happy to sing. Hopefully this was helpful for a lot of you. Thank you so much. I see majority of you staying back all the way till the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, and feel free to send me a connection request. Maybe just drop a note that you, I mean, just so that I don't miss out. Maybe that I attended this, and so that I am able to just, it'll be nice to connect on. Thanks, Praveen and the PipeRocket team for putting together. I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job with both the sessions, as well as we work with them. I mean, I'm not trying to convert this into a testimonial, but yeah, we've been very happy with them. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for your words, Nivas. And yeah, hopefully we'll definitely connect for another episode like this with more different topics altogether. So super excited, and thank you so much, Nivas. Thank you, folks, for joining, and see you in the other session. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.